I know, conversations that I have with Dems locally in St. Pete, they're very active and do podcasts of their own and political activists and all that. They are very, very intent. And we have to be as diligent as intent. A lot of people get complacent, and that's how you lose out. And the Dems have wondered, how did we lose the White House? How did we not get Hillary Clinton? After all those years of successful, you didn't build it. You didn't do it. Hope and change. You didn't do it. Remember, 8 years of that. People ask me, how do you do Obama so well? Did you really love him that much? You know what? I just picked him up. I have morning shows. People ask me to do them all the time. And, I just have fun being Obama because he always seems like he's having a good time. Trump doesn't sound like he's always having a good time. And being a president, is probably not, you would think it would be the greatest thing on the planet to be, but, making all those decisions every single day, I mean, it's a great position, great gig, but I know Trump dyes his hair, but look at the woolly mammoth on the head of Obama after 8 years. Seriously, all the presidents, you age tremendously. There's a lot of responsibility, complete responsibility. So back to Megyn Kelly. She was with Fox for years. Fox made her a superstar, and then she bailed out of Fox. Her numbers were dwindling, but the Megyn Kelly Tonight program was pretty damn successful, had pretty good ratings. Even with a spat with Donald Trump, with that sparring and all that, she hated Trump. And I thought the Peacock would have been perfect. But the interesting thing is, Megyn Kelly, 69 million talk show host, $69 million. That's a lot of friggin' money. I mean, come on, Megyn, you're a cute blonde. But $69 million for a failing show that was fledgling anyway? I don't get these decisions for these TV executives to make these decisions on the high up here. I mean, I always had doubts that the show wouldn't have gone, because like after the show, there's another show. There's Megyn Kelly, and then there's panelists that get together, and they talk about, various, you've seen it. And if you haven't seen it, you can find, stuff on YouTube, and you can watch the stuff and all that. But she was on television talking to a panel this week and talking about Halloween and stuff like that and dressing in costumes and such. And it didn't go over very, very well. Al Roker got involved, talking about blackface and costumes and things like that. And oh, yeah, as taboo and as perplexing as that might be to really get into that, but it was yesterday's episode. Very outraged over Kelly's comments and talking about, the polarization of Halloween costumes, other traditions, and, Megyn tried to apologize shortly after, but apparently these apologies fell on deaf ears at 30 Rock. They didn't care. They didn't give a darn. And what was said? Let's just play it. For me to actually quote it, I just think it would be better just to put it in context here, why she's taking so much heat.
Still be able to dress like a moron.
But what is racist? Because truly, you do get in trouble if you are a white person who puts on blackface on Halloween, or a black person who puts on whiteface for Halloween. Like back when I was a kid, that was okay as long as you were dressing up as like a character.
If somebody feels like something is offensive to them, then you should say it, and that's fair game.
Yeah,
and you should be able to take it if you're going to dress up like that.
Yeah, you got to be able to take it.
All right, be able to take it. Well, NBC is not taking it anymore. They're going to get rid of her. Look, the numbers are not good. Ideologically, apparently there's more conservatism inside Megyn Kelly's DNA than the network thought, and thought that they could deal with her, manage her. And according to insiders that I know at 30 Rock, I know some people that work at NBC, she doesn't work well with people. She doesn't listen. Very overpaid. A lot of people resent her for the money that she's making because she's really bleeding the network. NBC's got money, but they're bleeding because she doesn't her show has no numbers. It's failing. The executives had to get together here, I think, with this supposedly, well, they put a spotlight on this controversial rhetoric. And this is pretty much a way for them to separate with a failing show, failing journalist over at NBC. So I think they were looking for a perfect storm, if you will, where they could get together. Craig Melvin called Megyn's comments that you just heard racist and ignorant. Al Roker said she owes a big apology to folks of color around the country. And then, you know, and it goes on and on and on. It's repulsing. I almost feel bad for Megyn Kelly. But I was thinking to myself, how in the hell are you going to stay at NBC if you really have an ounce, or if you're just a total hack or sellout? But if you, I had an inkling that she had some conservatism in her DNA. How in the hell is she going to stay over at 30 Rock all this time? I mean, you can only smile so much. But her talent agency dropped her. Creative artist agency, a big one in New York, dumped her. She's gone. You can't apologize, folks, anymore. You can't do it. People are ready to hang you, get rid of you. Look at the talent agency. She's out there. And she was very critical, by the way, and I do have to mention this with NBC, is she was very critical, the handling of Matt Lauer and executives on how they dealt with that whole Lauer fiasco. And she was very outspoken about that at 30 Rock. And so there was just all of these particulars. And they thought, I guess, if you paid her that much money, she'll just shut herself up. She's a lawyer, and she's not going to shut up. She's a journalist. She's not going to shut up. And now, kind of interesting, she's knocking on Fox's door, Fox News Channel, FNC. Fox doesn't want anything to do with her. Nothing to do with her. They're well set. Very hot potato. Very hot potato. She's really put herself in a conundrum, really. I mean, in this highly fueled political correctness, you have to be so careful. And yes, there is the hypocrisy. There is the comments that are made that people do not get reprimanded for certain people on that network and CNN. People keep their jobs, hold their jobs, but it's the executives that hold them into the jobs, where they make homophobic comments, gay comments on the air, and they keep their jobs. And they mention something about a blackface, talking in context of Halloween figures that you can wear to be some kind of Halloween, athlete, Tiger Woods, etc. And then, you talk about that on air, and basically what a talk show is you have these comments. They use her as a prime excuse. So you can't talk your mind. You can't talk adults and have banter and conversation. It wasn't in context of racism. It wasn't like something that the I-Man, Don Imus, said something like nappy-headed hoe. It was nothing ugly about it. I got to play it just one more time just so you can hear it. And the way it aired.
Still be able to dress like a moron.
But what is racist? Because truly, you do get in trouble if you are a white person who puts on blackface for Halloween, or a black person who puts on whiteface for Halloween. Like back when I was a kid, that was okay as long as you were dressing up as like a character.
If somebody feels like something is offensive to them, then you should say it, and that's fair game. And you should be able to take it if you're going to dress up like that.
Yeah, you got to be able to take it.
I agree with him. People can take it. Not in this context. I mean, people, you're walking on eggshells, and at 30 Rock, of course you are, because it comes down to these leftist companies that like Fox News Channel, when they had to get rid of Bill O'Reilly, they distance themselves. There's something remotely controversial. We got to ax them, because if they don't, then there's going to be the boycott. And how do you hit them in the pocketbook? You pull the advertising. And boy, once the advertisers come in there, man, the personality is going to be coming right after that. And it's a lot easier to even pay them off than lose all that revenue. So immediately, Megyn Kelly, she's on the phone. She lost. I didn't think she realized so quickly she'd lose her talent agency. But now she's trying to sue, for the remaining contract that she had on this failing show. So how she is going to get the rest of that money and all those other millions of dollars, because perhaps these might be the only millions of dollars she might have on network television. She might have to go back to lawyering, being a lawyer. That's what she did. I am certain that Megyn Kelly is probably a fine lawyer. But, she's been trying to make it go with this journalism thing. I just thought it was the stupidest decision. But I think it was something to the extent after the whole Trump debacle, there was criticism and probably a lot of eyes at FNC in Murdoch. But there was the sexual tension between what was going on at FNC. But how lewd of the weirdness and not to cover up anything that happened to anybody at Fox News Channel, but the awkwardness of the button door that buzzed you in and then you couldn't get out and all that other weird stuff that was taking place that people knew about. They covered this guy up for decades. They knew this guy was a perv. And Megyn Kelly found out even more about it, and it really peeved her off. And she, very outspoken, very AA personality, a lawyer, and she wouldn't shut her mouth. And I don't think we've seen the last of Megyn Kelly. But the show was a fluff. The only way that I could explain the after the show was the fluff show with Megyn Kelly. It wasn't the hard news channel that you saw when she was on Fox News Channel, doing real interviews, asking real questions. This stuff was just fluff stuff. Maybe she did a few stories. I wasn't following every single program that she did, but, the numbers just went lower and lower, and that's just really the bottom line. Looking for an excuse to really get rid of her. But she wants back at Fox News, and it appears that the network is saying no to the prospect, at least right now. And sources were telling Vanity Fair this week that Kelly has been in the spotlight this week following her blackface remarks that resulted in her being pulled off the air. There's going to be some repeats for probably a couple weeks, but she's going off. But here's some things to note about Megyn Kelly, okay? When I say her DNA, were conservative, she regularly defended Brett Kavanaugh, as you know, who faced multiple accusations of sexual misconduct. She also called Dr. Christine Blasey Ford, who, as you know, accused Kavanaugh of sexual assault 36 years ago, a Democratic donor who received representation from a well-known Democratic activist. So she had these conservative leanings. And so anyways, it's Murdoch's company. Murdoch is the company CEO still. He currently says that he's happy with the working of things. But a final decision about Kelly would have to be passed by the company's chairman, Rupert Murdoch. But sources say both men are angered by the fact that Kelly moved over to NBC after turning down their $25 million. I thought it was $25 million a year. The Kelly is reportedly facing the heat from NBC as we speak right now, and everybody says she's out. The apology didn't do it. Yeah, look, you got Al Roker pissed off. You got the weatherman mad. And who was the guy before? Willard Scott. That's right, and he was on there forever. Is Willard still alive? He's just he's in retirement. He's got to be late 80s. I liked old Willard Scott. Here's what's happening in your neck of the woods. Well, Al Roker, is it just me, or did he look sexier when he had more fat on him? For a weatherman, you gotta fatten your weatherman up. He had the liposuction, or the tummy tuck. Or it was a staple. Yeah, they work. Well, I'm sure he's healthier, and that's a good thing. Believe it or not, there are some people that are big, and you might be one of them, bigger, I should say that, bigger, that have, like, amazing blood pressure. Their blood levels are terrific, healthier than an ox, and just weigh a ton. God bless you. You can eat like a horse, and your body just, operates and ticks wonderfully. I mean, that's just terrific. Wish everybody could be so lucky, but we're just not. Anyways, that's what